Welcome. I am really excited. Today I've got a fabulous guest. It is Leigh Cooper, and she's going to share a bit about her story because she's had a really interesting journey, and I know she helps a lot of people, and I'm sure she's going to help you too. So, thank you so much, Leigh, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, share a little bit about your journey because you've worked abroad, you've done so much with empowering other people and your yoga, and so just share a little bit about your journey.
Oh, thank you. It's trying to keep it in a small little nutshell. So I'll try and keep it brief. I started my career in kind of health and wellness in London many years ago, and then I just sort of used my body as a commodity and was running around London, drinking lots of coffee, eating lots of sugary snacks, and on the outside I looked amazing, even if I may say so myself. I was very toned. And definitely wasn't overweight, but inside I was dying inside, emotionally and physically. My bones and joints were aching. I was highly anxious. I was depressed. So yeah, then that's kind of started me into the world of yoga and meditation and sort of the mindfulness stuff. Being aware of your thoughts, things like that. And then from that, I retrained, and then I ended up in a place called Gozo, which is a Maltese island near Sicily and Malta. And I worked on various detox retreats with people who were also burnt out, people that had a lot of money, had kind of established their companies and were at breaking point. And that was kind of the changeover point for me. That's when I felt in life that I learned my biggest lessons. And then, another long story short, I ended up back in the UK and then settled in southwest of England, I suppose. I'm in Devon at the moment, but this is my home. And then the last part of my journey that's most recent is just this yearning my whole life really to have a family of my own, and kind of for whatever reason not ever meeting someone so to have that family with. So the last part of my journey has been falling pregnant through a clinic in the UK, with fortunate finally falling pregnant with my son Malachi, who's now 9 months old, moving to Devon in the same time when he was sort of just months old. And then at the same time as being a first time mum, and also a lot later in the game, I'm 41 now, and being on my own, trying to establish business. My business is Wild Women UK. And the reason why that came about is just realizing the many balls that we juggle as women, and kind of the fact that we give ourselves to service, whether that's in our career, whether that's as mums, whether that's in a relationship. We're very much the caregivers, and putting ourselves last, and just feeling that feeling burnt out, feeling that our needs aren't getting met, and also feeling at times that life is passing us by, and that there's so much more to life that we feel like we're missing out on, and we're feeling like this purpose is we're not fulfilling it. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping women kind of break free from the constraints of life and the expectations, and just establishing what it is that they want from life, what they want their life to look like, and starting that pathway, starting that journey to living a life that they want to live and lead. And that's kind of it, really, in a very small nutshell. I hope that's explained it.
Yeah, no, and that's a fabulous, because you've been helping people with their emotional intelligence, and just you talked about feeling anxiety at the start, and that actually fits in really well with the topic today, which is around calming the monkey mind. And I chose that topic because it's my topic of the month this month in my Creating Positive Change audios. So I've done, meditations, positive imagery, and hypnotherapy around that. So just talking through really about calming the monkey mind, that inner chimp that we have that flits around. So have you ever experienced that kind of inner chimp? You know, what you talked a little bit about it already, but what does that feel like for you when you've got your inner chimp on the rampage and off it's going, crashing through the woods?
Yeah, I think definitely for me there's a tendency to veer more towards anxiety than anything else, and then with that comes things like insomnia, because you can't switch off the mind. And I think we kind of have this built-in mechanism. It's like that fight and flight response that we kind of go to, and we think that if we keep thinking about our problems, and we keep dwelling on them, that we're going to solve them. And so it is exactly like you say, it's that monkey mind that's just churning out the same thoughts. And that is really the definition of an insanity. You know, you're thinking the same things and you're expecting a different outcome, and it just doesn't happen. And it just makes you feel miserable. It affects your body. It affects everything. So I think for me, I'm not immune to it by any means. And I think it's made me even more reason why I want to do the work that I'm doing, and even more reason why I have to work on myself on a daily basis. So the things that I do is, for example, especially with having a 9-month-old, music is an amazing thing. So quite often I will either put him in the baby carrier or on his walker, and when I'm cooking, I'll put music on my little boom box, and I will just dance. And I might feel really sad, I might not feel like dancing, I might feel tired, but I just to move your body to kind of break that pattern, changing your state. Going for a walk, for me, physically moving my body really, really helps me. And I think that's the key thing. If I would want anyone to take anything away from today, is never underestimate the power of movement in the physical body and how that can change your state. If you are fortunate enough that you can do something that you love, whether it's surfing or cycling or whatever it is, getting out there in nature, but just doing something to break that pattern, because you're not going to solve those problems when you're in that state. You tend to solve them when you're inspired, when you get out of that situation and you're not dwelling on it and you're not thinking of it. And then just for me, continually spending my day almost trying to it's like playing a game with my monkey mind, trying to avoid my monkey mind, trying to hide from him. So I'll do affirmations. And again, if I'm in the car, windows are up so that people can't hear me and think that I'm a crazy person, but just really shouting them. Or if I'm walking and there's no one around, then speaking them out loud. That's really helpful. And the last thing that I do, because it's not always easy, let's face it, we might have the intention of doing meditation. So for me, quite often another day will go by, I haven't done meditation, but what I will do is I will put something on when I'm going to sleep that seeps into my subconscious. So it might be, there's loads of things on YouTube that you can listen to, or for example, I listen to an audio and it might be Wayne Dyer talking or someone like that, and I will have that playing and I'll put a timer on it for an hour, so that when I'm sleeping, all of that is going into my subconscious. So I'm feeding it positive stuff, so that then is my new monkey mind, as opposed to the one that's sabotaging me all the time.
You've given us loads of goodies there. So I want to unpack a little bit of that, because there's like a huge amount of stuff. Okay, so let's start. One of the first things you said was around music. And funnily enough, I've been learning some stuff around, not because I want to do sound healing or anything like that, but I've been learning some stuff around sound healing because I wanted to use the right rhythms and incorporate it into the audios that I'm doing for an emotional healing and dealing with change and that sort of thing. So I have actually got a collection of stuff around me.
Amazing.
My favorite new thing, I'm going to have to show you this. See, I wasn't planning to get this out. This is my thunder drum.
I love that. Never seen one of them.
Isn't that just so cool?
Amazing.
And I've got drums and rain sticks and all stuff, and I absolutely love it. There is something about the rhythm. So there's my shamanic drum. There is something about the rhythm. If you do your heartbeat, and then you go quicker. There's something that takes you into an altered state at a certain beats per minute. And actually, there is something, like you say, I mean, even, you putting music on, there is something about the vibration and the frequency, but you can do it yourself as well, which is fantastic. And there is something, and you talked about their movement, and there was a really
Yes.
good thing about, I don't know if you've ever come across Ken Robinson, the late Ken Robinson. He did a whole thing around education, and he talked about a lady who had been going through problems when she was at school, and they thought she had some attention problem, so they got her to see a psychiatrist. And when she went there with her mum, he said, "Oh, I'm just going to go and put the radio on for a minute. We'll go outside and talk to your mum, and you just stay here." And they went outside and watched her, and as soon as they'd left the room, she got up and started to dance. And she said,
Wow.
they said, "There's nothing wrong with your daughter. She needs to move to think, and take her to dance school." And she went off to dance school, and she ended up choreographing Cats and working with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and became
Wow.
this multi-millionaire because someone had recognized that actually the way she thought was through movement, and that she wasn't a problem child at all. She was just, we're all different. And instead of being put on medication and told to sit still and behave, she was supported into finding herself. So the movement bit, I guess, with yoga, that's really important.
Yeah, I think looking back at it now, it made me realize that I was kind of self-medicating in a way without realizing it all those years ago when I started off in fitness. There was still a missing piece of my jigsaw puzzle, because what I would find is I would go and teach a couple of classes and I would feel amazing and I'd feel this massive high, but then I would come crashing down on a big low. So yeah, I've kind of connected the dots now. I think movement is great. Like I say, dancing, yoga, because we tend to, there is that mind and body connection. And sometimes what we think affects how we feel in the physical body, but also how we feel physically affects our mind. If we're quite stiff and sore, or if we're experiencing pain, then we can also be quite rigid in our thinking, and we can feel quite restricted. So when we actually start to free up our physical body, we then start to, it's like a lock that's opening up this door. We can open up more possibilities because we start to think differently. And we change our state of being from, you may still have that problem, may still be there, but dwelling on it and worrying about it isn't going to solve it. And if you're in a better state, if you're in a positive state of being, that's when sort of going off with slightly on the law of attraction, that's when you start to attract people and experiences and messages that kind of can help you move towards the direction that you want to move in.
Yeah, so you're recapping on language again, because you talked about language and movement and language. See, I use language as meditation, where you have movement, I meditate and go into presence and stillness. But the language piece, yeah, is really important. So tell me a little bit about how you talked about affirmations and that earlier. So how do you use that to sort of, do you combine that with your yoga to help calm that monkey mind, or how do you?
I think, yeah, I think it would be really powerful, actually, and I'd certainly that's certainly something that I'm bringing into my yoga practices when I'm teaching, kind of introducing that concept to people about affirmations or mantras. But what I tend to do is, especially first thing in the morning, because for me that's the worst time. That's when I've kind of my subconscious has been able to run wild in my dream state, and so I can wake up feeling, gosh, fear or anxiety again. So that's the real time, is to hit the affirmations. And we're so lucky in this day and age that I've got on my phone, I use Apple Music, and you can literally type in positive affirmations, or again, you can use YouTube, and it's kind of call and repeat. And what I also love about doing the affirmations is, my son's only 9 months old, but I want him to learn this from a young age as well, because I think, God, I wish I knew this at such a young age. And it's speaking out loud, and you might not be feeling the things that the affirmations are saying, but if you keep repeating something, and this is a really good thing to remember, because it goes the other way, and this is unfortunate what we do in life, is we repeat things like, oh God, I'm never very good at this, and why did things always happen to me? And if you repeat that and you repeat that and you repeat that, you're confirming all of those things. It's like back in the day when if you did something wrong, you used to have to write on the blackboard, I must X, Y, Z, lines and lines and lines. They obviously knew about it back then. You're working with your sub and unconscious, and you're telling yourself these messages. So let's flip the script and use it as a powerful weapon to say, actually, I'm great at attracting wealth. I'm great at attracting health and abundance, and I have healthy relationships. And if you keep telling yourself that over and over again, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling that monkey mind, and you'll start to believe it, and you'll start to make decisions unbeknown to you, because that's in your subconscious. It's like a magic tool. It's amazing.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of power in words, and words are energy and vibration, like you talked about. We get that out of songs and music. It's not just the music, it's the words of the music too, words of the song. And I think one thing that can really help, that I've experienced, is when you use a level of self-hypnosis with the words, because you're lulling that conscious sensor to say, oh, I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I'm saying I am prosperous, I'm saying I'm successful, but nah, I don't really believe it. And you've got to, it's easy to just keep thinking, well, I've just got to listen to this and it's going to change. But if you've got a really strong belief there, you've got to do something about that belief. So if you can lull that conscious sensor through positive, or use positive imagery or hypnosis or different things, where you actually then getting into the subconscious. You talked about that when you're going to sleep, and that's a really great time, like you said, because it's that little bit in the morning or that little bit late at night where your conscious sensor kind of lulls anyway, that it seeps in. So yeah, like you said, listening to something at night is a really good thing. So I know you're a real yoga fan. I know, you've got that wonderful practice that you've been teaching and sharing with, so many people across the world too, in other countries. So what, if you think, because I like yoga, I'm not very good at it. I don't practice it that much. I do it for a bit and then I stop. So I'd love to know how you use yoga for calming the monkey mind. There's different types of yoga. What would you recommend?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, actually, and kind of, it's like a universal yoga, if you like, because the sad thing about yoga is the people that need it the most don't do it, because I'm the same. I actually came into it, I'm not the most flexible. I'm definitely not bendy or supple or any of those things. So I need it more than the people that are. But yeah, we tend to sort of avoid it because of that reason. But there's a lovely practice called Yin Yoga, it's all floor based. And so this is another example. Being a mum, a single mum, is I can do it sometimes on the floor when Malachi is playing with his toys. I will literally just fold forwards. I'll sort of I'll move my body further away and I'll reach forwards for him, and I'll hold that for a few minutes. Or when he's sleeping, there's no alignment. So that's what's great about it. You don't have to worry, is my back straight, are my shoulders aligned over my hips, or any of that. It's just coming into a pose on the floor and holding it, and then breathing deeply. It's working with the connective tissue, this kind of like fascia that surrounds all the muscles. And that's the thing, that when that's unhealthy, that's what makes us feel really stiff and taut and tight. And if we can work with that, that's what gives us our range of movement and our mobility. And so I try to, and also, that's what I try to teach people if I'm kind of sharing yoga, is kind of sneak it in. But it's also a great way you can kill two birds with one stone, because you can come into a pose, hold it, and do your affirmations, or have the power of suggestion playing in the background, whether it's again an audio book that's really uplifting and positive, or a meditation. You can do the double whammy. You can stretch out your body and listen to those positive messages.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really powerful. So is there a link between like yoga and qigong or something?
Yeah, that's really funny that you're saying that, because it's weird how the world moves in mysterious ways, or God uses, or universe moves in mysterious ways. Is I've noticed a lot that I'm doing simple kind of movement with my body, if you like, whether it's just my arms, and moving my arms to breath, and that's very much what they do. I mean, I don't know the whole philosophy around qigong, but if you watch sort of people that do qigong and tai chi, it's very much breath and movement led. It looks beautiful to watch, and that's kind of the sort of way that I'm steering my practice. And yeah, it's that relationship is, I think they say in yoga that the breath is kind of the bridge between the body and the mind. So that's another way to tap into the body, or to tap into the mind, because we're so disconnected as a society. We're disconnected from our physical body, or sometimes we're disconnected from what we're feeling emotionally. And actually, when we allow ourselves to feel physically or feel emotionally, that's when we're able to move past these unpleasant experiences or periods of suffering.
Yeah, I've been exploring qigong, and I've done tai chi, but the pandemic put that to stopped my practice on there, and I haven't gone back since. But yeah, there is something about that movement, and I can see that there's similarities in some ways between that sort of, especially that flow yoga that you have, that gentle the movement and that. So I know you've already given us loads of wonderful tips, and I appreciate that. The movement, the listening to audios before you go to sleep, putting the music on, saying affirmations, like shouting them in the car. Can you just share your top 3 tips for really when you get that anxious head, or feeling like the affirmations are in the negative way, like I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be able to do this, all those kind of things that we all experience. What are your really top 3 tips for really calming that monkey mind?
Yes, I think another new one I haven't mentioned that's really good that I'm working with a lot is, I've got, so someone actually gave me this today with my clients. I always have like several journals. So I have several journals floating around my home. But what I do lately, and what's really helpful, is, and I kind of think of it as handing my problems over to God or the universe or my higher self, whatever resonates with people. Doesn't have to be a religious God. So again, when my son's sleeping at night, if there's lots of things on my mind, I will journal about them. But what's the most important thing about journaling, I think, that people misunderstand, is it's learning to ask the right questions. Because if you imagine, and I believe this, if you imagine that the universe is infinite, that there's a solution out there to every single problem that we're experiencing. So if you believe that, or even if you entertain that thought, and you think, right, the universe wants to help you, but it can only give you the answers if you ask the right questions. So to unlock that, you've got to think, right, what is it I'm struggling with at the moment? So let's take a simple and basic one, is money. Most people are struggling with not enough money. So when you're journaling, it's how can I support my family financially? How can I make better use of the limited time that I have to make money? How can I increase my profit? Or whatever it is. And it's asking those sort of types of questions, especially before bedtime, because then you not only have you got all of those worries out onto paper, but if you're asking the right questions, that's when we talk about the subconscious, and your unconscious will start to find seek and ye shall find. If you ask the right questions, you'll eventually start to find the right answers if you keep asking the right questions. So that's a great one, is journaling. What's dancing? I know I've that's one that I've already given, but just, you know, if you have time, whether you're cooking, whether you're in the car and you're just moving your body. I've created a playlist for myself on my phone, and it's called Feel Good Vibes. So whenever I'm feeling not great, I play it, and it's all my favorite tracks. And I encourage people to do the same, that just can't help but smile or laugh. And that would be my last thing, is gratitude, which I struggle with that word, because it's everyone talks about gratitude, and we know that being grateful is good for us in so many ways, and we feel like we should be grateful for more than we are. But actually, if you can just spend your time just thinking of 3 things each day, or at the end of the day, or the beginning of the day, when you're stuck in traffic, it could be different. Try and think of different things, and just really tapping into that moment, really visualizing that face of a loved one or a pet, or a moment in time that you experienced that was magical, whatever it is. It's tapping into that feeling of that being in that moment, and all of those things kind of put you on that trajectory of leading an awesome life, if you're not already. I really believe that.
That's some really wonderful. You've shared some amazing tips today, right from the affirmations to music to dancing to journaling, having your playlist. Just like, yeah, thank you.
No, thank
Really good.
you.
Yeah, and like you say, gratitude. It's just being. Sometimes it's easy to think we'll be happy when, but
Yeah,
coming back to that thinking, actually, I can be happy now because I've got everything I need in this moment.
yeah.
Generally. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I'm grateful for you for sharing up and spending your time with me,
Oh,
and sharing your
right.
wisdom with people that are listening, so we can all step into a better version of ourselves, and calming the monkey mind that can just run amok if we allow it to, can be just a beautiful gift that we can give ourselves. And you've shared some amazing ways to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. Thanks so much for having me on. Really, really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'd just like to thank you for listening and being part of this. And I really hope you take some of these tips on board. And we only make a difference when we take that inspired action to make a difference. We can only calm that monkey mind when we do some of those tips that Leigh shared. So please practice, allow yourself some time, and feel inspired. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks so much for joining us.